Hey, I'm Allie Bradley with NewsNation, and what exactly does it take to find a fugitive who's been hiding for nearly 2 weeks? Well, we find out. We sit down and we talk with BORTAC, the two operators who actually came upon the devil in the Ozarks, the former police chief in Arkansas, who was hiding for about 13 days before they found him. We'll tell you how they found him, what feelings and emotions they had when they came upon this man, and what their training really taught them and what they were leaning on in order to make that apprehension. All right, gentlemen, so you guys are the ones responsible for finding the former police chief in Arkansas, known as the devil in the Ozarks. Let's start with you. What was it like, first of all, when you got the call to deploy to Arkansas for this mission?
So, like a lot of our operations, it was high speed. We were currently already deployed in Northeast Texas. So we got the call. We had to flex our team up to Arkansas. Within a few hours of getting notified, we were on the ground meeting with the locals and trying to figure out where they were, what they had already established, and where our assets could best be used.
How tough is it when you literally parachute in to a scene where they've been working it for weeks? They've got their logistics going, they have their teams deployed. How was it for you joining in to this already set mission pretty much, and you guys have to reconfigure it?
Well, it's not ideal, having it been, I think, 12 days the day that we got there. So it's obviously not an ideal situation, but I mean, those guys were working hard on it for 12 days. Motivations were still high just because, I mean, I think people are pretty motivated in this career field, broadly speaking, but I mean, when someone's a murderer and a rapist, I mean, it was pretty easy to sort of follow suit, see where we fit in the best, wherever we can add the most value, and that's what we did, so.
When you guys get that call, either one of you can answer this, does the adrenaline shoot up, or is this par for the course, business as usual for you guys, or you're like, let's go, let's get this, let's do it? What's the feeling, the sentiment when you get the call?
I don't know so much about the adrenaline, but there definitely is that, like, hey, let's go. Like, this is what we train for. This is what we go through a selection process for. And this is the call we want. We want to be put in positions where we can get some of the worst criminals off the streets and bring these communities some normalcy back.
What about you?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, it sounds cliche, but this is like the type of thing that everybody wants to do in this job. That's why you do it, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you show up, 12 days have elapsed. Trail's cold, essentially, really. I mean, right? The dogs probably are going to have a hard time. All these elements have stacked up against you guys when you finally arrive. Tell me what it was like when you got boots on the ground and then you guys set off on your own, right? You got the logistics, you're talking to the locals, you know where you're at. But then what happens? Do you part off in teams? Do you guys go off in pairs? Like, what does it look like when you're on the ground and you're actually now kind of running the op?
So there's obviously a lot of like facets of these manhunts. Without getting into the weeds of all of them, there's teams that need to respond to certain sightings. There's teams there's the tip line set up. There's a huge need for manpower everywhere. On this situation, we were fortunate that we were able to break off some operators, and we decided we're going to go back to the last known spot that the Department of Corrections actually had his sign, and it was roughly a couple hundred yards from the prison. So we started at that location, and we're like, let's see if we can get a direction of travel from him. Without having any real anticipation of walking up on him that day, we were like, let's find where he's going. And if we can at least get a cardinal direction of where he's traveling, we can start moving our assets and using our assets better for that. And so we started at that last known location and began doing pretty standard Border Patrol sign cutting, tracking from that point, and walked up on him.
Who was the first one to see him?
Yeah, that was me. It was, you know, I wish I could say, well, so him and I decided to split up at one point. We each had some perspective, possible, you know, trails. And like you pointed out, you know, at 13 days at that point, it's not not ideal, but you know, he's going to be somewhere, right? And him and I kind of separated just a little bit, still where we can mutually support each other. And I kind of had a gut feeling that, you know, this looked like a good spot. And I was like, let me see what's up this hill. And I just prayed, like, God, help me find this dude. And I got to the top of the hill, and sure enough, saw someone fit the description. Originally, I think I surprised him. I don't think he expected anybody to come tromping up over the hill. He kind of started to sneak away, and I identified him. As soon as I identified myself as a police officer, then that's when he took off in a sprint. I chased him for probably 30 or 40 yards, and then he actually fell down, and then he looked back at me, and he kind of had this moment of like, am I going to run? Am I going to fight? Because that's pretty typical when you chase somebody or you walk up on someone. They have that moment. You can kind of see it in their eyes of like, what am I going to do with this dude? And thankfully, he made the wise decision, and he decided to just stop. And then I called my partner over, and at that point, we just called in the rest of the boys, and then they took him back to prison.
Wow. What was it like trying to track a former police chief, someone who has a level of training, right? Someone who has, when you guys were going into this, what was the mindset like going up against someone who's not one of your own, but kind of, you know, like he has a similar training that you guys have. He knows the area really well. What was going through your mind going after a former police chief?
I think there's a lot of unknowns, right? Like, you know, specifically what's his degree of training? How proficient is he? Obviously, he is not stupid. He got out of prison, right? So that's one. And also having been 13 days, like, what did he find in the woods? You know, did he steal anything? What does he have for a weapon? Obviously, this dude's a murderer and a rapist, so he's more than willing to kill people. More than likely, this dude doesn't want to go back to prison because he knows he's going to be going back for the rest of his life. So, you know, I think our posture was like pretty switched on. Not that it isn't, but like, you know, when someone's a murderer and a rapist, there's definitely a degree of like gasoline poured on the fire for all of us, I believe. So, you know, we kind of treated him with, you know, the degree of sort of respecting that threat level for sure.
Was he armed when you found him?
No, ma'am.
No weapons on him?
Nope.
Now, and he didn't put up a fight. Well, he ran.
He ran.
Okay. Now, when it came to the aftermath of finding him and all of that, what is it like for you guys to break down the debrief afterwards? Are you just relaying what you learned? Are you taking any information back? What is the conversation like with the local entities once you guys have found the guy?
We tried to explain everything that we could to them, almost like a knowledge transfer to these will happen again. He's not going to be the last inmate that ever escapes from a prison, and trying to walk them through exactly what our mindsets were and what we tried to do and ultimately did that day. And then also trying to learn from them what they did, because we had a very quick brief prior to pushing out and trying to search for him. So then trying to figure out like what worked for them initially, what didn't work, and when we get the next call, how can we use that information to bring that one to a conclusion as quick as possible as well.
You mentioned a little bit of the Border Patrol tracking and sign cutting and things like that, your guys' training. What other training skills did you use? Did you think that set you apart and that allowed you to really find that guy? I mean, 13 days had elapsed, right? And he was not that far from the jail. So what do you think that your training, what part of that kicked in, or what do you think sets you apart? Why were you able to find him?
Well, you know, as my partner pointed out, definitely, you know, tracking is a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty essential Border Patrol skill.
Do the locals not do that? They don't do the tracking, or do they just not have the same training level that you guys do on sign cutting?
I think it's just encountered significantly more often within the capacity of a Border Patrol agent. Okay. But I mean, you know, for the 12 days prior before we got there, I know that the guys that were out there working hard day and night to get them, they were all around him, I'm sure.
Did they have canines?
They did.
They did, and they just missed it. They probably assumed he had made it further. They probably weren't saturating the area closer, like where you guys found it.
And then so for this specific case, they had canines on the ground the first day, but the environmental effects of all, or factors involved, like they received, I think in the 12 days that they were searching for him, like 10 days of rain, and things that make it tough on teams to patrol. The rivers were up. It makes it hard to search in areas. The ground's like swampish. It's hard on canines. The dogs will overheat quicker. So all the environmental factors definitely played in and worked towards the devil in the Ozarks' favor for those first couple days. So
yeah, a lot of people are really confused on how he was so close but no one found him, but all of those elements make sense, right? Like those are factors that make sense. What were the conditions like when you guys were there, when you were able to locate him?
I think that there was some rain the day prior, isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah, there was some rain the day prior, which wasn't ideal, but you know, it was, you know, we found him during the day, and I wish I could say like, you know, I'm just the best tracker in the world or something, but you know, to be honest with you, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, like just sort of like having a bit of a tenacious attitude, and all those guys that were already out there, like they were patrolling every day, and it was really just a matter of time. You know, it was really just a matter of time, and even if the conditions aren't perfect for canines or something like that, you know, if he's not on this hill, then he's going to be on the next one, and I think it's just a matter of like perseverance, and I think that's what ultimately led to our success.
And it sounds like a lot of your instincts and your training that you had like in the back pocket kind of came to play as well. You know, maybe he's this direction, maybe he would be traveling here, or like, did you kind of put yourself in his shoes as you're out there looking for him?
100%. Yeah, and I guess kind of touching on some of that too is like, you know, the last 4 years, the Border Patrol has been busy. So like talking about like tracking and our ability to track, like we have agents that will be on tracks and working sign and typical Border Patrol things in one shift more than some areas may have to do in a year. And it's just a sheer numbers game. So when we have agents that have spent years perfecting that and gotten very good at it due to the amount of crossings we used to have on the border, that directly translates over to us being able to show up and at least have the background and the experience needed to try and be successful.
Yeah, so I asked you guys what went through your head when you get the call to deploy, right? Was it adrenaline? Is it business as usual? What is it? Okay, now I got to ask you, what was the first thing that went through your head when you came up on this guy?
Yeah, truth be told, you know, like I was talking earlier, you know, that wasn't going to be the last hill that I checked, and I didn't know for sure he was going to be up there. I think that him and I were pretty equally surprised to see each other at that moment. You know, I mean, I was surprised just because, like, I had a hunch for sure, you know, but if it wasn't that one, then I would have had another hunch, another spot to check, you know. So, you know, there's an element of, like, God's grace or luck or whatever you want to call it, but it just goes back to perseverance, like, if it wasn't that one. But, yeah, truth be told, I was a little, you know, I was pretty freaking stoked to see him, honestly.
Pretty freaking stoked. Did you have a moment where you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Spider-Man meme?
Yeah, that moment happened, yes, ma'am, yeah.
Interesting. So then what? Then you go meet up with him and you're like, dude, I found him? Like, what happened then?
Yeah, so, you know, once I had the guy under control, which, I mean, it probably was like 15 seconds or something like that, and then I called him over. At that point, we just, like, held him, and we were just like, dude, we got him, you know? And it was a good feeling.
What did you think?
I was...
You're like, no way.
Yeah, I was extremely stoked. Like he said, I had to make a little bit of a movement to get to him, and then got over there. We confirmed his identity. Had just a quick back and forth with him to make sure we had the right white guy running around in the woods that day. And yeah, we were excited as could be to let everyone else know that it was over. We could finally, you know, that whole community could be at ease.
Was he running around in his underwear?
Shirtless pants, you know.
Yeah, okay. Do you guys have like a victory dance? You guys got a touchdown dance that you do? Do you do something? Do you high five? What did you do? Did you guys like, yeah, man? Like,
yeah,
what was it?
There was some, you know, some glances at each other of kind of like, dude, nice, you know.
Nice.
And he's like, can't believe you found him. I was like, me either. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So what's next? I mean, how do you top that?
Yeah, we've talked about that. It's going to be, I think the next manhunt that we get called to is going to be hard to show up and catch him in the first 26 hours, but hopefully we can. Next time we'll make it the first day. That'd be cool. But either way, it was awesome to be a part of it and just to support those local agencies. And like I said, I don't hope anyone escapes from prison, but hopefully if they do, we get the call again.
Did you guys have any animosity from any law enforcement when you guys found him? Were they like, of course BORTAC found him, and huffy and angry? Or was it like, All right, man. Teamwork, dreamwork. We did it. I mean, what was it like with the locals?
I think that everybody was pretty like elated, like collectively, because like he pointed out, it's just, I think that there was a lot of unease in the community. This was a bad dude and he didn't want to go back. And so there's that unknown element of like, what's this dude going to do when he actually, when somebody walks up on him, like what's he willing to do? So that, there's a lot of unrest in those types of, areas because of that. And so I think that collectively everybody was pretty excited that we got him,
Awesome. Okay, I think we're wrapping up here. We're pretty good. Do you guys have anything else I didn't ask that you want our viewers to know about your excursion out in Arkansas?
Just thankful for the opportunity to participate, honestly. Because like I said, it's cliche, but that is why people in this job do it.
Do you guys put your hand up for the next mission, or do they tap you? Are they like, you're going, or you're like, sign me up, boss, I want to go to the next one?
If we don't get the tap, then our hands are going to be up for sure.
You want to go on those calls?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. So when it comes to BORTAC, obviously it is an elite operations group. It is specialized. Now, what makes it so special? Why is BORTAC able to do what no other law enforcement agency seems to be able to do?
I would say it's our selection process and certification process. We onboard the right guys based upon what we deem as a requirement for each individual operator. So I would point right back to how we onboard people into BORTAC.
Why doesn't every agency do something like that? Why don't they have a selection process that is the best of the best so that they're out there in the community doing that hard work?
I would say, your selection process is directly tied to what you do operationally, and just based upon our operational requirements, we do things in the rural environment that are very dangerous and at a high level. We do that similarly in the urban environment. Not a lot of teams do. And so just based upon our arduous working conditions, I think that plays directly into the quality and the type of people we select based upon how we set up our selection and certification based upon our operational requirement.
I know you have a lot of SOG guys that are former military. What would you say statistically? Do you know, like how many are veterans that went straight from Marines or from an elite force there? I mean, I know that even Border Patrol gets Green Berets that want to become BORTAC operators. So how does that, what is the statistic like there? Do you know?
It's roughly about 20 to 30%. But at the end of the day, we appreciate those type of experiences. We want to bring aboard guys with that type of background. But again, back to selection and certification, you could have done any job prior to, and as long as you pass selection and certification, you are the person we want for the team.
When it comes to the BORTAC response, right now, you guys get these calls and it's like, hey, come in right away. What does that look like when you get the call to deploy a team for you as the head here? When you're sending these guys out, walk me through what that looks like when a local entity calls and says, we need help.
So we're very fortunate. We've been working in this space for years. And so we got it down pretty quick, pretty easy actually. It's a quick call to my chain of command at SOG. And then our headquarters is aware of our operational agility and how we go from one place to the next. And we have limited time to prep and deploy. That's the world we live in. And so it's just how we've been doing business for so long that everybody's accustomed to working that way in our agency. And it allows us to get to where we need to get to in a quick fashion.
But you have a limited amount of time. So how do you pull that off? Is it just everyone's in lockstep and knows exactly what they're doing and everyone pulls their weight? Or what do you attribute that to? Because most people can't pick up a whole entire team and deploy that quickly. It takes a lot more. So what do you attribute that to?
Well, it's how we structure our cycles. We try to structure our cycles. We have, I don't want to get into the numbers and the breakdown of our element, but we try to keep a team on reserve for those type of situations. And then at the end of the day, we're going to prioritize the most dangerous mission. So if we're on something that can wait and we can shelf it for a minute, we'll deploy to the most pressing thing, handle that, and then go back to another operation if we have to.
Now, when it comes to these ops, obviously, BORTAC, before I started covering this, a lot of people didn't even know what BORTAC was, right? And then all of a sudden you got Danilo Cavalcante. You've got the guy in Cleveland, Texas. You've got the Uvalde shooter. You've got all these things that have stacked up just over the last couple of years. How does that translate? And are you seeing more need for BORTAC? Are you guys getting more calls because you've always operated in the shadows, boss.
Right.
Now you're coming out a little bit more and you're still not getting credit for it, a lot of it. But are you guys getting more calls? Are you getting deployed more from the administration?
I'd say we're getting deployed more just because of what you pointed to. I mean, it's out there. The public knows, especially when it comes to the manhunts. I think It's out there enough that local agencies in their areas, when they run into a situation where they need to, for an example, in the manhunt situations, they need to find a guy, they know that we can be value added to that operation. And so yes, we have been called quite a bit. You mentioned Ourada, Cavalcante, those are huge high profile operations. And so basically the word's out on that. And I think directly because of that and some other high profile operations, to answer your question, yes, people do call us and ask us to assist.
Is there egos that get in the way a little bit? Because you've got the sheriff, right, usually running ops on the ground.
Right.
And then they got to call someone else to come in and do a job that they couldn't do. What does that look like? What kind of support do you get on the ground from the local agencies that you guys really fly in to support?
Honestly, it's been great, because at the end of the day, for us to come into an operation to support a sheriff, or in this case in Arkansas, it was the Secretary of Corrections in Arkansas, they're requesting us in. And so they want our help. They see that we're valued to what they're doing. And then we get on the ground. In my experience, the locals and other people we interact with have been great. And at the end of the day, none of these operations get done by one unit or one group. It's 100% a team effort. And so we just fit into that team and provide value where we can provide value. So I haven't seen any problems with the other partners that bring us in, because we get on the ground, we'll get in where we fit in, and we're all aiming for the same thing, and that's mission success and protect the American public.
Do you think y'all should be called in sooner? I mean, a lot of times these are weeks, and it's a lot of manpower and a lot of resources on the ground on a local level.
Right.
You guys are the first ones to find them, but you're often the last one to get called. Should you be brought in sooner?
We'd like to get in sooner, but I will say that the person in the hot seat in that situation, usually a sheriff or whatever local type law enforcement agency, they're dealing with a lot at the moment, and I get that. Maybe the first concern isn't usually who can they bring in. It's like, let's handle the situation now. And I think as things continue on in these situations, they start to see, okay, who can we bring in to add resources and capabilities to our problem? And so typically, just by the way it works out, I think we get brought in a little bit later. And you can't really throw blame at that mission commander or that state or local agency in the moment, because he's dealing with a lot of stuff. And so, preferably we want to get in sooner than later, but we're happy to get in at any point in that operation.
Do you guys have the manpower to stand up to the calls that you're getting? Because you said you're getting more than normal. Do you have the resources and the manpower to do that?
We do. We can always use more. I can't say that, I could take 100 more guys, honestly. But then again, when you point back to selection certification, it just depends on who's going to make that to staff the numbers. And so right now we make do with what we have. And again, it points back to prioritization and looking at what the most imminent threat is, and then flexing those resources there quickly.
Okay, so you just heard from the Special Operations Group within Border Patrol, BORTAC. These guys are essentially the SWAT arm of Border Patrol. So you heard exactly how their training helped them make that apprehension and how they're ready to go after the next fugitive, the next person, to be on the next manhunt. And we hope you join our next Bradley on the Border episode. Be sure to watch on Thursdays.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.